Hello, and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and I'm joined by friend of the show, Will Katz, award-winning director Brian Redondo, and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. As many of you know, Mike is still getting settled back in New Orleans, so he wasn't able to join us this week. He should be back for next week's pod. This is episode 39. And we'll talk about what we're loving this week. We really branched out, so stay tuned. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund. All right, we're back again. Another exciting episode. Will is back with us again, filling in for Mike. We just replaced, a youngish Jewish guy for another youngish Jewish guy.
You're out, Mike. You're out.
The South. Yeah, a New Yorker who then made his way to Tulane, and so yeah, they're just basically the same guy. It's pretty cool. We were able to find a quick replacement, an injury call-up, so to speak. So, Will, last time we learned a little bit about your gaming habits, but we also in the past know, because you've sent in a mailbag question, that you have an English girlfriend. And my first question is, what's it like dating someone who didn't grow up in America? And second, does she have stereotypically British teeth, or, what's the deal here?
Oh my God, Wes.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wes,
Is it true? Is it true, or do they have great teeth?
your run of inappropriate comments on this podcast.
I'm going to
Continue.
start
Can we,
with the
screen
second
this man?
question.
All right. I'm sure she has beautiful teeth.
Rachel has teeth that are just as good as any of ours, and I mean that both in everyone's teeth are fine in the world, but specifically no, she had braces, we good, right?
All right.
Good. The thing over there is their orthodontists stop sooner. It's not that they obviously don't lack the technology, but for whatever reason, my teeth were super messed up when I was a kid, right? My orthodontist was we're gonna get this right, and most orthodontists over there are we're gonna get this mediocre. Once it's mediocre, we're good to go. What was your first question?
Wow.
And is
what
that
the
weird?
hell is
she
this conversation?
in England now?
She's in England now. Yeah.
Okay. So what is that like, living with, or dating someone who's from Europe, from England? That's just random.
Yeah, dude. So the thing about it is we've been long distance since we met, and we met in person initially, and it was total serendipity. So
I saw that movie. It was great.
Yeah, but it's also just a word in the dictionary.
Great dictionary entry.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all took the SAT, but yeah, so it's it's obviously not ideal. The whole thing is coming towards a next year no longer being on different continents thing, which will be sweet.
Yay!
Yeah.
So who wins in that dynamic? Do you go across the pond, or does she come over?
We both
Or
win.
is there a third party continent?
No, we both win in that we get to live in the U.S. Together.
Where orthodontics is taken seriously.
America.
But honestly, the weirdest thing about it is that they just call some stuff really silly things, and sometimes it really bothers me. They have this word for styrofoam that when I heard
Polystyrene.
Yeah,
Weird.
The first time I heard that, I was angry for a week. It's just such a vile way to say something. It's just a foam. It's literally a foam. It's foamy. Call it styrofoam.
Polystyrene.
It's not a parrot.
Don't they say crisp?
Chris.
Yeah, but crisp, just phonetically, is a really dope word. So I don't mind people saying crisp a lot. You know,
Okay,
like
yeah,
the
I'll
sound
give you
of it.
that.
Yeah.
So I have this really bad habit that I should be ashamed to admit, but I'm going to say it anyway. Whenever I'm interacting with a British person, somehow, for some reason, I always start using my version of a British accent as I'm talking to them. Like as the conversation continues, I devolve into, oh, hey, so what was that like, governor? And like it's just like the crudest, most offensive thing. Has that happened with you and your girlfriend and or her acquaintances?
Um, no. Uh, I I like separate to her have had like really close friends in England for like several years, and I've been over there like enough times that I don't get drawn in. I'm just, they're gonna get y'all out of me, like that's how that goes. But what you are describing is one of my great fears for when the move over to the US happens, because I just know there are going to be so many days where she comes home or I come home and she's just like furious because all the 5 people she talked to today all decide to like be like, oh, you want a cup of water? Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it's just be like, I'm not here for your entertainment.
happen.
Like it's a totally normal way to talk, but Americans are just so like drawn to it in a way that's like very. It's almost like I don't know if y'all ever watched like Party Down, like way back in
No.
the days.
I do not know this movie. Or
No,
show.
it was a show. Yeah, but regardless, it's just a sort of like if you're like the most interesting man in the world, right? Like from those Dos Equis commercials, anywhere that you go, people are gonna that he goes now. People are gonna be like, "Oh, it's the most interesting man in the world." Like, "Stay thirsty, my friends." Like, blah 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 blah. Right? Like, it's the line. It's like the whole thing. It's like that for all English people in the U.S. Right?
100%.
Like they all
And
get the same
Australians.
treatment from the populace.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
oh yeah, that's not a knife.
Yeah.
This is a knife.
All right. Well, this episode is going to be a what we're loving. So we're going to, bring things from our outside world into the show, what we're enjoying. Sometimes, it ends up being a show. Sometimes it ends up being a real life thing. We'll see how we go. Savon, what is the thing you're loving this week, bro?
I started watching 30 Rock. And
Wait, started?
yeah. So
always late, always on time.
yeah, so I've heard of 30 Rock. I've never watched it. And a lot of people recommend all kinds of stuff. I can't be on top of every single cultural thing that's ever existed ever. I'm not going to try to. But yeah, I was with a friend and they just put on an episode of 30 Rock random. And she's like, watch the show. I was like, all right, bet, I'll watch it. Watched it, no context. I didn't really understand the characters. I was like, yo, this shit is hilarious. Like, there were not like, oh, haha, kind of funny. Like, there were multiple moments where I legit busted out laughing. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I've enjoyed Tina Fey and stuff, but I guess this show is really her brainchild and really like this is her show. Oh my god, this show is funny. I've heard of Alec Baldwin plays your boy, right?
Donaghy.
I'm making sure I'm not wrong. Yeah, I've heard of him just through tropes and memes, but I've never actually watched anything with Alec Baldwin in it like on purpose before and really watched this man. That dude is so funny.
You and everybody else in the world.
Goodness. Like I never like I just heard of him. I feel like I just heard of him because Hollywood exists and I'm American. That dude just had me in tears and just across, but the entire cast is just consistently makes me laugh. I didn't know that it was based on her experiences with SNL, and I never really watched SNL either. So the show within a show concept. So I don't know. I've never had any context to the show, even though it's extremely well known. So being able to go in and not know anything about it, I don't know the characters, the premise, and immediately start laughing. I love that experience. I feel like a lot of things that you're late to, it's already been spoiled and you know what happens. And this was just like a fresh comedy that like I've watched maybe 5-6 episodes, not in any real order yet, but every episode I am like, I have to pause the show because I'm laughing, which, yeah, watch 30 Rock if you haven't. I know I'm late to the party.
So, was it just this one episode somebody put on for you, or have you binge watched the entire show?
No, they put on one episode, and then I've started watching. Like so far, I've watched maybe like 6 or 7 episodes. So not in any particular order, because I don't know if there seems to be a strong continuity in the show. It seems like you just gotta kind of understand the characters, and the rest makes sense. But the ones it was one of those shows where like, oh, okay, so lots of just prominent comedians during this time just pop up in this show, kind of like that Parks and Rec vibe of show, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of those kind of shows. I'm all on board.
I love Parks and Rec.
And you haven't even mentioned Tracy Morgan.
You know, I've never been, and I still am currently not really a Tracy Morgan fan. Even in just movies I grew up watching, I've never really been a Tracy Morgan fan. Like, admittedly, actually, I gotta admit, I was thinking about this earlier because I'm really not a Tracy Morgan fan. I don't really think he's funny. He makes me laugh in 30 Rock. There's multiple moments in that show where he's hysterical. Him and his wife. I'm trying to remember the actress who plays.
I mean, you're totally right. He's only funny on 30 Rock.
His style of humor, it's not that he's not funny. His style of humor, and I get what the style of humor is meant to appeal to, it does not appeal to me. Because maybe that's a better way of putting it. He's funny as shit in 30 Rock. But I think Alec Baldwin's character is the one that really just gets me nonstop, where I just have to actually stop what I'm doing. Good show. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Nice. My what I'm loving this week is that yesterday, 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, popped by the camera shop, and I've been bugging Brian about like his camera, and where me and my wife are about to have a baby in like a month or two.
Woo! Did you just finally go public with that?
A little bit. I mean, it's like,
a little bit. That was so casual.
We've been telling people slowly. There's been no like Instagram announcement. We're probably not going to do an Instagram announcement.
This is the Instagram announcement.
Well, this is
right.
You know, for our 8 listeners who didn't know.
Wes is holding up a pair of baby shoes right now.
This man just gonna pop up with a child. Hey, yeah, look what I got, y'all.
It's kind of how it's gonna be. So. Yeah, like literally.
Wes hasn't told his parents.
Yeah, we've told parents, but we haven't told that many people. Like, I just kind of tell friends here and there, and then sometimes I tell the same friends. I'm like, hey, I don't know if I ever told you, but like we're gonna have a kid. They're like, oh yeah, I know. Like you just told us. Like, okay, great. So we're not keeping track of who we're telling. I don't know. It's
super cash.
It's a weird thing. Yeah, it's very cash. So anyway, went to the camera shop.
That's the baby's future name. Cash.
Yeah. Wait, where was our invite to the gender reveal?
Yeah, well, we didn't want to set anything on fire, so we just set our backyard on fire and then put it out with a fire extinguisher. No, actually, we don't actually know the sex gender of the baby, so we'll find out when it comes out. We'll just be like, oh, hey, cool, it's a baby.
So you're gonna invite people to that reveal?
We'll live stream it. We'll do it.
Confidently wrong.
We'll do IG live. Yeah,
a very special episode.
We got Jen here
from the hospital. Yeah.
Mike's doing commentary.
What are you loving?
He'll just be angry about it in the corner.
Here's why I don't like babies.
Yeah.
They grow up to be neckbeards.
He'll just be why was I invited to this? I can't see anything. What a waste of time.
We miss you, Mike. Okay, Wes, you was talking about your camera though, son.
Yeah, so I went to the shop. I had my eye on the A7III. It's by Sony. It's a mirrorless camera, full frame sensor. The idea being that, it'll bring in some more light. It'll take good pictures. Brian has a version of this. He has the A7 S, right? Something like that.
A7S2.
S2. So a previous version, but more high quality in terms of certain aspects of it for taking video and picture and stuff like that. Anyways, so I went there. I was like, I need to talk to somebody who kind of knows more about it, who can kind of tell me like what lens should pair up with it nicely and like won't break the bank, but still gives some good quality. So I found this guy. He was a little bit douchey, but he did know his stuff, and he had shot the A7 III. And actually, they had a used one, so I actually ended up just pulling the trigger on it. It was like $300 off new compared to new. It's in good shape for sure, and I've been loving it. Just been going around practicing on the dog. They have this setting on the camera for autofocus where you can switch between it expecting to see a human and it expecting to see a pet.
What?
So I've been using the pet mode on our dog Nyla. It's great. Nyla does not cooperate. She's a terrible model. She just likes to go around sniffing all of the things in the backyard and eating poop, but does not like to come when you call her. Through the she's not that kind of dog. She's got her own mind. She's an independent woman. So a lot of pictures of just the side of her. No face shots that much. So
No dog butt?
No,
What about the
some
dog butt?
butt? Yeah, because she just goes off and you're like, oh, well, there's the butt of the dog. But the camera's been awesome. It's got a little besides the pet feature, which is kind of cool. It's got a swivel screen, which my old camera did not have. So when I take low down shots, of the dog at dog level, I can actually see what I'm framing. Which is nice. In my old DSLR, I just shot it blindly and hoped for the best.
When you were talking about taking low down shots, I was very worried for a second. I'm glad you brought it back to the dog.
Yeah, it's a beautiful camera. The lens I got was a 35 millimeter prime. It's like 2.8. It was only $150 used. So cool.
For those that don't know, 2.8, sexy, very sexy.
You can go more. You can get the 1.4, but that costs a lot of money.
That's usually $1,000 more.
Yeah,
And it's not that serious.
The 150 is.
That's
a good
only a
price
quarter of a robe.
Yeah, yeah. You get way more mileage out of the robe.
Hey, DerekRose.com. If you're trying to get some, people to pimp your products, send one to Savon, man. He'll shill for you, no problem. He'll tell everybody.
Yeah, although I think I
can't
like
remember-
Ballerina more. The German one, I think they have nicer stuff. Keep it a buck. I was looking at Derek Rose.
All right.
Did
Not
we-
a fan of the English. How does that make you feel, Will?
Indifferent.
I can't remember if we mentioned this while we were recording, but 2 out of 4 of us are wearing robes right now.
Oh yeah, come on.
This is a robe takeover podcast. I'll leave it up to the listeners to guess which 2 are. I think one is an obvious lock,
For sure.
and the other one's Jewish.
Jesus. What is happening right now? Y'all are just you and Wes have just gone off the deep end. Y'all are finally
Out of pocket.
become old men. They finally become out of pocket old men who just say shit and then everyone else is just like, oh god.
I think that's exactly what's happening.
Oh god, grandpa.
Okay. Except grandpa ought to have a damn robe.
Yeah. but
Grandpa
they-
energy. DGAF, man.
You laughing? I'm on
Wait,
this
as something
website, I
small.
see more
This is
robes.
not a what we're loving yet. Ooh, because I'm not fully through it. I just watched the first 2 episodes of Dave.
Ooh.
Hey, I'm Dave.
I am laughing so hard at so many moments of this, and some of it is cringe, but a lot of it is just really funny and really not smart, but it's really funny. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be my next what I'm loving. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. 2 episodes in only. Can't make a call yet. All right, Brian, what are you into this week?
I'm into a lot of stuff this week. I'm loving. I got TV show picks. I got book recommendations. I got comic book picks.
We're back into reading. We're
I
not
got
illiterate.
I got everything, man. And Dave is actually one of those things. I'm just loving a lot of things. I feel like I'm single again. But the one thing I highlighted this thing in our notes, or I dropped it in our notes. The one thing that I do want to talk about, I'm going to save some of these other stuff for later because I feel like, TV shows are always a thing to fall back onto. But what I'm loving right now are adult Legos. And no, I do not mean...
Yeah, are they pornographic? What is
I
happening?
do not mean the brick version of a flashlight. No, I'm not. I'm also not talking about...
Serious design flaw.
Ew.
Serious design flaw.
Wait, what?
I'm also not talking about IKEA,
It's all right,
which
Savon, just
I
ignore
used to talk about as adult Legos. I'm not talking about those. I'm also not talking about those giant Star Wars sets of the Millennium Falcon that cost $700. Those are not adult Legos. Those are Legos made for kids with disposable income. What I'm talking about is just a whole new line It's not even a dedicated line, but they're obviously Lego sets catered to adults with refined tastes. So very
Lego
recently,
robes. It sounds like that's what's coming.
I think that's on the docket for 2022.
Yeah, where is he
Uh,
going with this?
so recently, Anna and I completed several of these sets. One of them is like this beautiful bonsai set, like a bonsai tree. Uh, she did one that's like a potted plant of birds of paradise, which is beautiful. And then the behemoth thing that we just completed is a grand piano, a Lego version of a grand piano.
Life
It's like
size.
it's a little smaller than life size,
Okay.
but it is sizable. It's probably like I don't know, like 24 inches by 12 inches or something like that.
Everybody keep
it
in
is
mind,
massive.
Brian lives in like a small New York apartment in Brooklyn. Like,
Whoa, there are no
where
room
are
for these
you-
Legos.
Where are you putting these things?
They're on the floor. I'm
Like
trying
a
hard
true
not to step
kid.
on them.
Bro.
But that's the thing with these Legos. Like they are so finely crafted and well designed that I'm gonna have to get a shelf for these things to properly display them as they should be displayed. And what's great about them is that they're kind of like adult coloring books. I don't know if y'all have seen those recently. They're very like intricate patterns and illustrations made for adults. Kids are not coloring in those things with crayons. No way. Same thing with these Legos, right? Like no kid wants a grand piano Lego set. But I do. And it's just exquisitely crafted. Like it doesn't have like any of the Lego rivets sticking out of it. They're all concealed, so everything is very sleek on the exterior. And they have like tons of details. Like it's got the white ivory keys, it's got the black keys, and then if you lift up the lid of the piano, it's got all the chords are even built out underneath. And if you press the keys, you can see like the hammers come up and hitting these fake chords and stuff. It's also got a motor in it that you connect to your phone, so you can play music that comes out of your phone, but then you see the keys on the piano moving. It's just like so beautiful. And then while you're building it, you feel really good about it. And this is going back to that coloring book analogy. It's like you get into this flow state. You're just like, finding the right sexy pieces and snapping them together and getting that satisfaction. And like even the way that you put it together. Yeah, I know. I got to put on a robe for this. When you're putting this thing together, like there are designs in some of these modular pieces that ultimately get covered up. Like you don't see them on the outside of the piano, but they're just in there. Like you notice like the symmetry of how you assemble these things, and there's like these patterns in the bricks and the tessellations and stuff. And then you can do this while you're like listening your favorite record, or like if you're smoked out or whatever, and it's just like a good vibe. And they're amazing. Like they're really prohibitively expensive. They're kind of in the fancy robe end of things. But that's how they're made for adults with refined tastes. And I'm looking forward to our next adult Lego set. We're thinking about getting the Lego typewriter, the vintage typewriter, which is a nice seafoam green for all you adults out there. Yeah, so that is what I'm loving.
Have you had the impulse to like take them apart and match them together into some weird spaceship?
No, that's some kid shit, man. I'm an adult.
That's what really got
I got
mad.
a grand piano. I got a grand piano that I'm going to use as a grand piano. There is no BB-8 Lego rolling around inside of that grand piano. Like that's not happening.
So I
that
tried to
sounds
look it
kinda
up. So it's like a large desk ornament size, right?
Yes. Like
Okay, so I think I looked up the right
it's
thing.
like the kind of thing that gets its own shelf.
like a medium sized statue.
No, 20 by 24? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is a Brooklyn shelf, not not a Texas shelf.
Okay, I
All right.
respect that.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those like niche hobbies.
Hell yeah, man. If you got the dough, go for it.
Will, I don't know if you ever ran track, but in track, in the 4-man, like 4x100 relay, you always put the strongest runner last. So I'm putting you last. So take us home, get us across the finish line. What are you loving this week, bud?
I was first.
Yeah, I'll take that baton with the smoothest of handoffs. So I've really been loving Football Manager, which is it's a PC game. Y'all have played like Madden or 2K at some point in your lives where
I
you
thought
have-
maybe this was like your ode to like Jose Mourinho or something like that. No,
No,
this is different.
no,
Okay.
this is me being a better version of him in this game, right?
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's basically like your dynasty or franchise mode, except you cannot control any of the players during the games. And it's super in depth, not just in terms of like, oh, here's the setup. It's a soccer game, right? So it's like not just in terms of the setup of
Oh, this is British stuff again.
yeah, dude. And it's like literally so it's not just like the tactical side of things. It's not just, oh, I'm going to put these dudes in this formation. I'm going to tell this guy to like run this way when he has the ball, or I'm going to tell this dude like not to shoot because he's bad at shooting, right? But it's also like, yo, we're going to train these dudes. We're going to like recruit young dudes to like be in our youth system. We're going to like handle all of, like the financial like business side of things. We're going to like have to deal with the expectations of like a board of directors of the club. And I want to build a new stadium. And they're like, we don't have fans, so that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, but we could have fans if they had a place to sit. And they're like, have fans that sit on like what we have now. It's like a whole thing. So it's like really dope. It's super in depth, and it's all consuming. And it's like it's super sick. It's like really full on like cosplaying being like a head coach / general manager. In like a sport that has like all these added layers of like free market, like player acquisitions, like money really matters in a way that it doesn't in like the NFL or even the NBA. And I'm killing the game out here. Let me tell you, like
Did
like,
you sign Messi?
No, I didn't have to. I have, well, actually, okay. So this is going maybe a little bit too deep, but one of the really cool things about it is that it has like incorporated like Brexit into like the rules around like acquisition of players in England.
Wow.
So like it used to be that if like you were from like an EU nation, like you could just like come and play in England and it's like no problem. But now it's like you have to be like playing for your national team like regularly, or then there's if you aren't, then there's an appeals process, and depending on like how much I'm like paying you and how much I paid to be able to pay you, like determines whether or not like a player is eligible. So I have like these 3 dudes that I signed from like South America who can't play for me because I didn't pay enough for them, and they're like young boys. So I'm like loaning them to like clubs in Spain, trying to get them experience, so they like get good enough that they can. Yeah, I mean, it's like this is the level that we're operating at. It's like I'm very stimulated, right? Like by it, like
So-
in every like savory way. Yeah,
So
Do you make
I'm hearing
spreadsheets
is
for yourself on the side?
I do not make spreadsheets.
Okay.
So- all right. So what I'm hearing is that you're having financial issues.
Well,
Like-
I'm fixing the financial issues.
Yeah. Like
by
I'm
the
hearing
way.
is that you're having issues,
Uh,
financial shipping, getting your kid, you're under people across the ocean. So are you like one of those people now? Because this happened with me playing GM mode in 2K. Are you one of those people who now in any type of soccer news drops, you just have an encyclopedic knowledge of just all of like the whatever equivalent of like a collective bargaining agreement and all the league rules and tax rules, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, if they move this player, they'll save this much in money, so then it makes sense for this move.
like there's definitely like a nerdier like baseline knowledge. The one thing that like makes me less able to do that in soccer is that like the financials of deals aren't always like reported like accurately or quickly. like in reality, but like at the same time, like my team in real life signed this player this summer that I signed in Football Manager like 12 months ago for like my team. And I was like very stoked about it because like, oh yeah, I know this dude. Like he's gonna be totally adequate because he was totally adequate for me in Football Manager, fit in very nicely, you know.
High praise. Totally.
So this
adequate.
game seems like it's very text-based. Like it could all just be,
Oh yeah.
Yes, no, type in the name of this player. But like, what do you actually see on screen?
So there's basically there's two elements. There's like when you're in like a game, like an active match, and then there's sort of the rest of it. The rest of it is very text based. There's a whole bunch of different like dashboards and windows for like the various aspects of running the club. You can also delegate a lot of activities to like staff that you hire, who like have attributes that control how competently they perform those tasks. But in the game, you're basically like watching a soccer game with like sort of mediocre graphics. But like as you're watching this game go on, you're tweaking the tactics. Like, oh, they're really like coming in at us on the right. I need to like change this dude's like instructions so that he's like hanging back to like try to neutralize that threat, and then we can maybe come up the other way. So like there's the matches take like a long time, and like you really like build up to those. But there's so much time that goes into building and setting up everything around it, and like being on top of it all is very like when I'm not playing Football Manager, I'm often thinking about like the things that need to happen next in order for me to keep this train on the tracks.
So who would really enjoy this game, or AKA who would not enjoy this game, and where can they find it?
So Steam is where they can find it. Just straight up Steam, search Football Manager. I think that it's a game that certainly like if you're a soccer fan and like you also game, there's probably an interest level, but really anyone who's like at all into like sports, but like I don't know if y'all have had this experience, but for me, I've actively felt myself getting worse and worse and worse at like the sports games that I used to just be dominant in for like my entire life. And it's because like the controls are leaving me behind. Like my reaction time's not what it used to. I don't have the same time to like dedicate to being like the best at FIFA. Right. I'm now only just very good at FIFA. And so like, and that's only
That was like such a humble brag. I love it.
I'm only very good now.
Now I can stomp regular people, but online it gets a little intense.
These are the size of
Yeah.
it. Remember.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, but in like 5 to 10 years, I'm probably going to be booty, like by any measure. But Football Manager is like a place where like, no, it's like you're thinking through things, and it's very like intellectual, but it's also like, yeah, I think it's for people who like don't need to have the like, oh, I'm the best dribbler, I'm so good at dribbling component, but who like if you enjoy like a manager or like a dynasty mode or like franchise mode, anything like that, this game is like that on steroids. It's amazing.
I love how what you just described is an extension of, back in the day, there'd be jocks and be like, oh, we're good at this sport. You guys suck. Go play it on your Sega Genesis. And then now there are people who are like really good at playing it, the video game version, but you're kind of aging out of that. And you're like, okay, here's a different version of that that's more intellectual that, yeah, you suck. So you go play that.
Totally.
Go
You're
do your
the
Red Bull
Rajon
Speed
Rondo.
Rush game.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Well,
when
that's
you
the
look
other
at
thing, like,
Rondo.
Yeah. Chris Dudley, Udonis Haslam, like that's what you've become. The bench.
Oh,
coach on
God.
the bench.
You live long enough to become.
Getting them checks,
Yeah, exactly.
What I will say also, just like very last little nugget, is that like it has leagues from like all countries all over the world. Like you could do like a file in like the Filipino league, or like the third division of the Filipino league, or like
Is there
pick
a
a
league?
country. Yeah, dude. Every country has a league. It's pretty wild.
That's dope. That sounds like a game that would not appeal to me ever in any kind of like moderate way, but it does sound cool for a certain type of folk. So I'm glad that you shared that with us.
It sounds like another game I would be bad at.
Why?
Like I'm also already bad at FIFA. I'd be really bad at this too, I think.
I think the attention to detail and like the amount of like in depth you'd have to do. You'd have to really be into it.
I would say like the first 10 hours would be a slog.
Oh my god!
Like if you
know, the
really
first
were
time.
coming to it with like no sort of knowledge or like other interest in soccer in particular, like yeah, it would take a little while to acclimate.
It's dangerous. It's a rabbit hole. That's how I was with the 2K My GM, dude. Like I would spend legit. It got to the point where I was spending more time managing my players' salaries and my team's contract than I was actually playing games. Like I would at a certain point, I stopped playing games. And I just started simulating them because I just wanted to plan out, okay, 3 years down the line, who can I max out? Who can I trade? How can I sign Kevin Durant? Oh, God, I struck out in free agency. Oh, crap, this dude tore his ACL. At a certain point, you're not even playing the game anymore. You're just managing spreadsheets, and it becomes an actual job.
Like taking advantage of like weird algorithms for like what is a value trade. Yeah, it's
I wonder if
Suddenly
there's
you're
a
an
legit
accountant.
manager out there that's like hooked up to the game and just watching the moves that you make and copying them. This is like this person knows what they're talking about. There's a Ted Lasso somewhere who's following.
There's not that to my knowledge, but a few years back, someone did get hired to be the manager of like a third tier Spanish team, and like their resume was just like what they had done in Football Manager.
Oh my god!
That says dope. More about like the people making that hiring decision, I think, than about like Football Manager. But like that has.
But what you're saying is you have dreams.
Yo, like I'm open for
backup
business.
plan.
I'm open for business. Like I'll take
if that law thing doesn't work out, you know.
Hey, being a lawyer might be helpful there, right? Like you know the CBA and everything like that.
I can read it. I can read it real good.
For sure. That should wrap us up, yeah? That was a good episode. I liked it. All right, cool.
Definitely the best one we've ever done.
It's the best one we've ever done and the best one that people have ever heard. You know, hey, Mike who, right? Like, I mean, we don't even need that guy back. We'll just, or we could just alternate and see if people can figure out the difference.
Oh my god.
All right, Grandpa.
They all sound the same.
That'll wrap us up. Hit us up on our socials, like always, at confidently_pod. Let us know how you feel. Introduce our show to your friends as well. We have a great time making it, but we know there could be more people out there listening. Will found us, somehow, and maybe there are other people. There are other Wills out there, and then the show will grow just organically. It'll grow like a little flower. All right, friends, or maybe like a bonsai tree, a Lego bonsai tree. Friends, we're out. Have a good one.